Xbox is crashing and burning down, and it doesn't look like it's gonna stop anytime soon. These new leaks, this new drama, oh boys, it is juicy, and I'm all up for it. Great grade A entertainment right here, boys.
After what has been a whirlwind of a weekend, especially for us in the Northeast, we got another blizzard again, dude. I am so tired of it. I've never been a Southern guy, but dude, the South's looking mighty nice right now. North Carolina, I'm coming for you one day. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the whirlwind of a weekend really was centered around, of course, Xbox. On Friday, we learned Phil Spencer's retiring, Sarah Bond is resigning at the same exact time.
Rip everyone's favorite black gamer girl, Shaquisha Shaquan, and crusty, old, stale, and pale Phil Spencer. You did nothing for Xbox, but you did give this channel a lot of material to work with, okay? Boys, trust me, rent was paid, okay?
Here comes the new head of Microsoft Gaming in Asha Sharma, a Microsoft exec no one has heard of before. Matt Booty gets promoted, and this is all happening while Sarah Bond is posting on her LinkedIn profile about accessibility features for Xbox. So we can tell that this was all hustled pretty quickly. Were these two forced out? Xbox has been crumbling for a while now. So what exactly gives? Well, we finally have some answers here with an article from The Verge. We also got some answers over the weekend thanks to Asha Sharma's Twitter account, which she absolutely runs. It's completely legit. So you can take all those answers.
Yeah, it's not AI at all. You know, the woman who can barely speak coherently and sometimes speaks barely coherently about AI. Yeah, that's not AI, trust me, bro.
With 100% certainty and run away with them. For some additional context, because no doubt this entire article throws Sarah Bond under the bus and Phil Spencer is scarcely mentioned, is that Xbox Everywhere was mentioned as early as 2021 by Phil Spencer. This comes from a Games Radar article. Phil said the following, quote, "For us to succeed, I don't think another company has to get smaller. I want the industry to continue to grow and accelerate its growth. And if you buy a Switch and you want to play Minecraft and I happen to buy my kids a PlayStation, if they can't play together, that doesn't help gaming grow in my mind. That war might help one device win over another device, but it doesn't help the industry. I believe focusing on..."
My favorite part about the console bot is the fact that no one has literally given a single shit about anything but Steam for the past, I don't know, decade and a half at the bare minimum. But these consoles are like, oh yeah, let's fight over scraps. Man, how can everyone at this company be blind?
Player joy, ease of play, and accessibility in the long run is the right strategy. And I think the industry will move in that direction because that's what gamers will demand. So, the Xbox app on Switch then, remember that rumor? He says, you know, it's the right question because people usually ask me about releasing one individual game or another. And what I say is I want the full Xbox experience to be something that we deliver. We have no...
By the way, I do actually think that he's coming to this conversation with a good mindset, by the way, because yeah, we do demand that everything be accessible. No one really wants exclusives except the die-hard PlayStation and Xbox fans. Really, those are the only people who are left who want exclusives, and it's really strange because a lot of them have PCs, but they still kind of just choose to have a worse experience in a lot of cases.
No plans to bring it to any kind of closed platforms right now, mainly because those closed platforms don't want something like Game Pass. There's a ton of open platforms for us to grow in, though, the web, PC, and mobile, so all of our focus, frankly, is on those platforms. Later on...
It's really interesting. Phil Spencer is a very interesting dude, to be honest. Because a lot of the things he says, I kind of agree with it. He does legitimately seem, in a lot of cases, to have had a mindset of, oh, the user matters, okay? It doesn't really matter if it's Xbox, PlayStation, or whatever. The user experience kind of matters, so let's just put everything on everything. Which is also something that, you know, was gonna generate Xbox money because they were failing downwards. But still, I do think that he legitimately may have came from a, you know, consumer-first standpoint here, which is absolutely rare. Will Asha Sharma actually care? I don't think so. I don't think so. There's literally a lot of examples where she's talking about that everything must have AI in it. And, well, I don't think she's changed her opinion just yet.
He says that he totally understands why that's the case. Quote, "That's not a slam on anybody else. who has a system that works for them, I can see why the disruption of Game Pass is not something they want right now, end quote. But the concept of Xbox existing on other consoles is not a total dead end, at least not in Spencer's vision. Quote, in the end, he says with a smile, when we want everybody to be able to play on Xbox, we really mean if we can bring that full experience to a device that players want, we are totally open to those discussions, end quote. And now you see the multi-platform push, you see Xbox everywhere, but that was a thing back at this point in time. I've seen a lot of people use this to sort of express that Sarah Bond was never part of this, but I need to remind people she has been with the company since 2017, and she was no small.
Yeah, this is most likely a lie. She 100% was a part of it, and she was most likely, as everyone now knows, the push for it. At the end of the day, she was a woman.
Fry at that point. She started off as a corporate vice president who oversaw gaming business development and partnerships at Xbox, something that is complemented in this article here. She'd eventually be promoted to the corporate vice president of game creator experience and ecosystem. Then in 2023, after she helped get the Activision Blizzard acquisition over the line and testified during that trial, she would be promoted to president of Xbox. Given she was the one managing all the partnerships and the business development side of things, I could see a world where this was still her.
Well, there's a learning lesson for everyone. After you lie to Congress under oath, you get promoted for that.
Her pitch. The fact of the matter, though, is Phil was peddling this much earlier, and all I'm really advocating for here is as much criticism gets laid at his feet as it does Sarah, because I think they both made a lot of bad choices that have hurt Xbox in the long run. Nonetheless, Tom Warren of The Verge gets inside the big shakeup for Xbox leadership and what exactly happened there, what led to it all. Some of it is obvious, of course, because we know Xbox hasn't been doing well for a while, but who was behind a lot of the decisions? This article lays a lot of the blame at Sarah Bond's feet, and I'll just open up with this. This whole transition into new leadership, you should be highly skeptical of from top to bottom from multiple angles. A lot of the messaging around Asha Sharma when it comes to her Microsoft blog post is very much in opposition to any video I've watched of her online saying every application is going to be
He knows. He actually knows. Holy, he said that.
AI application, or AI will fix fertility rates, but yet she's going to put in her big blog post that we're not going to do soulless AI slop for video games, or she doesn't have room for bad AI. I think a lot of people are drinking the Kool-Aid on what's going on here, and I just really encourage, before we go forward here, look at this with a skeptical eye. I want Xbox to be here, and I want them to be incredible, because I think this industry is worse without Xbox. We've seen the generation PlayStation has had. If Xbox weren't here, we would be poking fun more at PlayStation, no doubt about it. But a lot of people are thinking we're going to get this stamp back again, and look, it's just going to be a long couple of years again. We're restarting the social media cycle. I'm already, like many other Xbox-centric creators who have a critical mind, getting harassed.
You know what's going to be crazy about this situation? Let's imagine that Asha Sharma is actually a genuinely good person who does not sacrifice babies to Baal on weekdays. And let's actually assume that she wants Xbox to be great and gamers to have a good time, and she's interested in the consumer as more than, just something for the slaughter. I know, it's hot, but, let's try. Whatever she would plan in an ideal world like this to get Xbox back on track, it would probably require, as Maddie said, multiple years to achieve. All of these choices cannot be just flipped on a dime, and they can't happen instantaneously. So even if there are good choices to be had, the question now becomes, how long do these good choices take? And if they take too long, will they be canceled? Because, well, you can't become the president of Microsoft Gaming and not deliver anything for multiple years. There have to be results. This is why a lot of companies chase short-term benefits, because, well, you're not going to be long in that good position if you don't actually deliver on anything. So the question is, even in the perfect world, where she actually wants Xbox to be a great platform and the consumers to have fun and whatnot, will it take too long for it to happen? And if it takes too long, will it be abandoned for, again, short-term goals? We're just going to have to wait and see. I obviously think it's probably going to be that case, but still.
Like, we're already getting back to that point here. So I just encourage those of you who are fans or not, approach this with some skepticism. I feel like it should be obvious at this point after the generation we've had, but all it took was a few tweets in this article to really start turning things around. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what's going on with Xbox, Microsoft Gaming, or whatever they end up calling themselves, consider subscribing. I'll have the link to Tom's article in the description down below. Shout out to him for some great reporting here. Let's get started at the top. It says Xbox fans had been anticipating the retirement of Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer for years, but what most hadn't expected was the departure of Xbox president Sarah Bond too. For many outside of the company, Bond seemed like Spencer's natural successor, a deputy of sorts. Microsoft CEO...
In this day and age, yeah, the black woman that probably doesn't know anything about gaming does seem like the natural successor to a white man.
Satya Nadella and Microsoft CFO Amy Hood clearly did not agree. Instead of picking Bond for the role, Microsoft promoted Asha Sharma, a former Microsoft AI executive, to the top of Xbox. The decision to...
And you know what's the funny part about this? We already talked about her being, overseeing Copilot, the program that literally, without asking, turns on, uploads your files, and then deletes your whole computer because reasons, obviously. And, her overseeing other things that literally no one cares, that Microsoft is just trying to push on their partners to buy and use for no reason, because no one else is going to ever do that. Those things are failures. The craziest thing about Asha Sharma is the fact that they literally put someone who has already been failing for years and delivering on everything that Microsoft should want. AI has been failing under her tremendously. So the fact that they just take someone who was already failing their role and replace Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer is like, on some level, you need to understand it. A change was not actually even made. You replaced a failing system with a failing system, but now a failing system that gamers en masse are gonna hate. Not a great move, honestly.
Overlook Bond might have surprised Xbox fans, but for more than a dozen current and former Microsoft employees I've been speaking to, it's felt inevitable in recent months. Spencer's decision led to months of careful successor planning. It was announced to the world on Friday, but it was supposed to be today, as in Monday. Microsoft was forced to announce early because it started to leak to IGN, and they were planning to run a story according to sources familiar with the situation. That kicked off a day of chaos where teams inside Xbox were hearing the news first through reporters and news outlets instead of via internal memos. The team running Sarah Bond's social media profile accounts were also so unprepared that a LinkedIn post inviting people to provide feedback about Xbox...
Oh yeah, I forgot to say this. Obviously, Sarah Bond does not tweet these things out themselves. These people probably have barely any access. A lot of these people probably don't have even access to their social media accounts. Some of these people probably don't know they are on Twitter and other places to begin with, because it's all company-led. A company like Microsoft is never going to risk you actually saying something that you feel.
Xbox accessibility features went live just before her departure was announced. It sat there for hours until Bond's team eventually posted her own memo. 6 months after Bond's promotion, Xbox executive Kareem Choudhury, who reported directly to Bond, departed Microsoft and triggered another shakeup of teams inside Xbox. Choudhury was key to Xbox's backward compatibility support and helped bring Xbox Cloud Gaming to life as xCloud in 2019. Just weeks after Choudhury had departed, former Xbox Chief Marketing Officer Jarrett West also left Microsoft in June 2024. That meant the marketing team was now reporting directly to Bond. A month later, Microsoft delivered a marketing campaign that signaled people didn't need to buy an Xbox anymore. The message was, you don't need to play Xbox because games were available through Xbox Cloud Gaming on TVs. This is all part of Xbox Everywhere's strategy that...
By the way, I still remember when this all happened and there were a bunch of people saying, "Oh, this is so smart! I, as a failed McDonald's employee who messes up your order in the drive-thru and doesn't congratulate his gran on her birthday, because I'm a piece of shit, but I am gonna now tell you that this is a really smart business move." And as the poor person who does not make enough money, and even if he did make enough money, he would do poor fiscal investments, aka just fucking spend the money who God knows where on stupid crap. I'm gonna tell you that this is a really good business decision. Yes. Yep. Good times, good times.
Bond had been pursuing, a vision to move Xbox's brand beyond its roots in console hardware. Months later, the This Is an Xbox campaign launched with commercials that positioned a phone or a tablet as an Xbox instead of just a console. It was a confusing campaign, and I'm told it offended many Xbox employees internally. Yeah, it offended me too, because honestly, it was just really dumb. Like, I don't know how else to put it. No offense, man, but like, just...
Wait, wasn't Mr. Batty one of the people who actually defended this practice? Oh, it's genius. It's yeah. Question sus.
Like, it just completely had meme written all over.
Am I making this up? Because I can't honestly remember. Wasn't Mr. Matty amongst the people who said this is a smart move?
It had meme written all over it. There was no boldness to it. It was just a terrible idea because that part of Xbox was not ready. No one really had the smart TV apps. The dongle wasn't there. Xbox games hadn't really made their way to PlayStation. It was really still Xbox and PC predominantly, and streaming to a couple of devices like your phone. It felt like the thing that we knew about the Xbox ecosystem to open up the generation with xCloud before it became Xbox Cloud Gaming was still the same thing, yet they looked like they were just trying to force to you, hey, you don't need a console. Hey, you don't need a console. Hey, you don't need an Xbox. You can play it anywhere. Get the idea, but just a terrible call. A terrible, terrible call. Most of the current and former Xbox employees I've spoken to in recent days are relieved that Bond is leaving Microsoft. I've heard from multiple sources that Bond has been...
a lot of people who are most likely, let's face it, racists and evil bigots are happy that the strong, independent woman of color is leaving Xbox. I, for one, am not.
Tough to work with and built a team structure that meant if you didn't follow the vision or question it, you were out. Most have praised their ability to strike partnerships with companies and developers, though. I wrote in December...
You know when was the last time I was actually unhappy that gaming woman left the industry? It was Blizzard and with Bobby. Everyone knows I'm a massive simp for Bobby. But people forget that Bobby had... I don't remember her name, which is the bad part. But there was a woman who was on the board with Bobby, and she was a pretty big deal. And she posted feet pics on Twitter. She actually posted so many of them. It was crazy. And that woman was a dream, okay, boys? Listen. Posts feet pics on Twitter and other places, okay? And she also co-signed and forced employees to say none of the bad things that were happening at Blizzard were happening. Absolute dream woman, okay? I don't care that she's 20 years older than me. Boys, listen, it is what it is.
2024 that Bond had staked her career reputation on the idea of Xbox being everywhere across multiple platforms and devices. This also involved carefully managing her image both internally and externally, making her appear to be a gamer like Phil Spencer. In reality, she wasn't, and it looks like some things aren't changing internally at Xbox at least. I understand that Bond's strategy had been failing internally and had been questioned multiple times. Bond had tried to push mobile and cloud over console to reach potentially millions more Xbox customers, but the result had been a classic case of chasing tomorrow's customers by neglecting today's. All right, let's start off with the top part here, because obviously I have a lot...
Also known as the modern audience.
A lot of thoughts on pushing mobile and cloud over console, as you'd expect from someone like me who's like, I've been in strong...
It's very interesting because on a very, very on paper, purely technical level, this does make sense. Because technically, 99% of your user base is men. It's gaming at the end of the day. And if you could even get like half of the women to game, that's a massive new market that just unlocks out of nowhere. Now, granted, these people completely ignore the fact that most women don't want the game. Or if they do, they are interested in way different things than men. So the fact that you make Luke Skywalker appealing to women is not a good thing.
Disagreement with where Xbox has been headed for a while here. Two things can be true at once. Sarah Bond can be the scapegoat, but she can also be tough to work with, and there can be relief that she is leaving Microsoft, right? Because I'd heard murmurs of something like this years ago, right? And you know me, I don't report on the inside information because I don't like to get involved in all that stuff. But it was interesting to see this is being corroborated here. This is something that does not surprise me whatsoever. I don't have stories to share or anything like that, but I am not shocked when I read this personally. So I go, okay, So that's there now. So I think two things can be true at once, is all I'm saying with that. The other thing, though, is trying to push mobile and cloud over console. Just like, I know the pressure was getting heightened because of the acquisitions, and they needed more players, and they need more sales, and they needed to reach further. But abandoning that console base is really what, I mean, we've had a lot of, wow, that doomed Xbox. But the problem I'm having with people thinking like this stamp is going to come back is I'm not against this, believe it or not. I've never been all for Xbox's platform strategy because I'm a belief that this stamp here is why some great...
Well, you know, what's her name actually said that this is coming back because exclusivity is gonna make a comeback, boys. Trust.
Great games are made. Yes, it means less people can access them, but it also means that some projects that were unable to exist now can because of an exclusivity deal. Because sometimes it's those deals that fund a project. I mean, we're kind of seeing it with PlayStation making a tight partnership with Konami, and now Rev Noir is a exclusive to PlayStation. Silent Hill Townfall is exclusive to PlayStation. Not saying these are system sellers. I don't think they're designed to move units, but perhaps there was a deal here as PlayStation is trying to target more Japanese gamers where they went for these games. And I don't know for sure, but it's possible those projects maybe otherwise would not have seen the light of day. So I say all that to make sure it's clear. I'm not against Xbox going back to exclusivity, but what Sarah, and by the way, Phil as well, like, let's not just leave this guy out of the conversation.
But the exclusivity thing would be probably better than what they are currently doing with the PlayStation stuff, because the PlayStation stuff is absolutely wild in the sense that Xbox is giving their best games, including Starfield. I mean, PlayStation did get the play in mind with Starfield, but Xbox is actually giving good games to PlayStation for PlayStation fans to keep using PlayStation but play the better Xbox titles, while PlayStation themselves are giving nothing. Nothing that anyone cares about to Xbox. Because one thing people forget about the everything is an Xbox thing is that it's commingling of multiple things, you know? Xbox gives their games to PlayStation, but PlayStation also gives their games to Xbox. But the thing is, while Xbox does give some games that PlayStation players want, PlayStation doesn't give Xbox shit. They give them diverse things that no one cares about. Look at the list of what PlayStation has given Xbox that you can play now from PlayStation. That list is horrible. It has nothing interesting on it.
Conversation. It's not like he was sitting there going, wait, Sarah, you did what? Like, this guy was her boss. He greenlit this. So let's be very clear about that. But also that these two made a decision where it was you cannot put the genie back in the lamp. You cannot put the lightning back in the bottle. Whatever the saying is, you cannot undo a choice. Like, we've gone to PlayStation and then making a whole business update about it. It was a big to-do, just these 4 games, and then we all know immediately it's not going to be those 4 games. And now it's everything, and Phil saying there's no red tape and that any game can go over to PlayStation if they'd like to. They were chasing the big dollar, and that was because the acquisition of Activision Blizzard King brought the Eye of Satya onto the company. They've been scrutinizing Xbox a lot more since. It's no longer a little toy to the side. It's a thing that can generate some real money, and they made one of their biggest acquisitions ever as a company. So yeah, it's time to pay attention, and it's time to make sure this part of the business is actually making money. So they make these desperate moves. And it puts Asha Sharma in a position that, funny enough, Phil was in. Don Matrick goes forward with this TV vision of like the all-in-one entertainment box for your living room. And here comes Phil who goes, Jesus, dude, how am I supposed to fix all this Game Pass? Right? And now Asha is like, Jesus, you guys took away exclusivity. Like, you took away a driving factor for people to buy our consoles. But not only that, you built a whole Xbox everywhere marketing campaign around it, forced it down people's throats, tanked financials quarter after quarter after quarter. And now I'm here to undo all of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mr. Batty wasn't critical while this was happening.
Like, she has less options than Phil now. So that's why I'm also not super optimistic. The article continues on, and this first sentence is really...
I'm personally not super optimistic because she's a Nepo baby.
Really what I think got the Xbox fan base all in an excited mood, because it says, with Spencer's retirement official, Microsoft is hitting the reset button on Bond's Xbox strategy instead of embracing it further. So right away, people look at all of this and they go, oh, but she was responsible for cloud and, phones and Xbox everywhere over just the console. And now we have Asha Sharma on Twitter saying, hear you when it comes to Xbox exclusives. Could it be coming back? All I encourage you is to pay attention to the actions of the CEO rather than what she is saying, right? She is appointing to her chief of staff a dude who she worked with in AI. Satya Nadella has horrendous AI brain rot, asking you, begging you to stop calling it slop and instead refer to it as sophisticated. And speaking of Satya,
I would not be surprised if YouTube is currently filtering out the videos that refers to everyone's favorite thing ever, the S word. So I actually really think that. I have been trying to use that word in less in general in the past couple of days because of it. It's hilarious.
this is the dude who championed against exclusives openly and led to what was reported as an internal civil war between Phil and Sarah and Amy and Satya on what direction Xbox should go in. And guess what that resulted in? Phil would say one thing about exclusivity, but here comes an interview from Tim Stewart, and he's like, no, we're going to be like everywhere. And then Sarah would say something and do that. They were just trying to outdo each other constantly and establish the tone for the brand and not get bullied around. And we see who won out. Satya won because he's the boss, and we know how he feels. So I would not read this first sentence from a Tom Warren report, with all due respect to him, and be like, oh, Xbox is bringing back the big exclusive. Again, would love to be dead wrong about that, but I would not hold your breath. The article continues saying Microsoft Gaming CEO Asha Sharma is now promising the return of Xbox and a clear message to employees that the strategy over the past few years has not been working. I want to return to the renegade spirit that built Xbox in the first place, says Sharma. This is the one thing I can get behind because you saw me pull the games off my shelf, man. Xbox had that Sega spirit when they first started off. They had some weird games, some weird exclusives, and that's what made me, personally.
Can we get Unreal Tournament back? I've been thinking about it recently more and more. Unreal Tournament was great. I want it back. Thank you.
An Xbox fan. Would love for that to come back. But again, we're in a very different industry nowadays. Xbox employees I've been speaking to have been concerned about the Sharma appointment, particularly because of her previous role as an AI executive at Microsoft. There's also concern about
Failed AI executive.
her lack of industry experience in entertainment and gaming. Sharma has been clear she's not a gamer and has spent the weekend responding to people on X and even taking game recommendations, which I find interesting how, again, this is framed because she also claimed on her Twitter account to be a gamer. And then when you looked at her profile, it was so obviously a juiced profile. Like, there were achievements she was getting that required an insane amount of hours. At the same time, she played like a different game per day, and her profile was just open a month ago. Like, look, dude, I'm not even trying to bully. I'm just saying, like, I don't care if she's a gamer or not. That really doesn't matter. But just don't fake it. Like, it's just starting off in such a dishonest way does not allow me to be like, okay, let's give her a shot. It's like, oh, you're all.
The best part is that they started this dishonest way, and they actually unironically thought that gamers are not going to notice that something's wrong with the profile. That we are not going to notice that something is very amiss with everything that's happening. And the thing is, these people think we wouldn't. Their opinions of us are probably horrible. They're in fact probably so horrible, I don't even want to hear them. It would be offensive to me. So, the way that they treat us, the way that they do things is absolutely detestable.
Already lying to us. Awesome. Way to start off strong here. The other concern is that she's been appointed by Nadella as some kind of executioner of the Xbox console. Her memo doesn't suggest that, and Microsoft could have easily appointed Matt Booty.
Oh, are we gonna not just talk about the fact that she's a Nepo baby? Nobody even cares about this. Oh, she's just gonna finish off. Listen, there is one thing that we can talk about, but I doubt it. I doubt it. The fact that Microsoft, a multi-trillion-dollar company, would literally fucking just, cut and destroy like 10 to 15% of its existence is a little bit absurd. But there is the idea, the conspiracy theory, if you will, that at this point, considering Microsoft Gaming has been in the gutter for so long, that they just put her in charge because she knows the AI, and they're just gonna sacrifice the Microsoft Xbox division, gaming in general, for AI purposes. That could happen, But again, no sane company is ever gonna sacrifice like 10 to 15% of their company for something completely intangible. Even if Nadella is insane when it comes to the AI stuff. So that's what it is. Now, granted, will they make sacrifices in general for AI? Yes, well, definitely. I definitely believe that one. But will they just sacrifice the whole of gaming? Yeah, I do not believe that. Because if they were okay with that, they would not be yapping about the fact, oh, actually, everyone's on Microsoft Windows. I wouldn't if I could. To play League of Legends, I need to do some kind of bullshit and change a 1 to a 0 in a file, otherwise it doesn't work. My Sony Vegas now doesn't work, and I have to reboot my computer every single time. And it's all because of Windows. Okay, if I could not use Windows, I'm not using Windows, boys. And I think a lot of people are of the same opinion. It's getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and I don't want to deal with that shit. Anyway, that was Mr. Matty Plays 10 out of 10. Bye.